and welcome back to another episode of Ignite Your Power, the Kathy Mel podcast. I'm so grateful that you're here because today's episode is deeply personal and incredibly important. So, March is actually Endometriosis Awareness Month, and if you've been following me, you know that this journey has been a huge part of my life. Endometriosis has shaped so much of who I am, and while it's been painful, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, it has also empowered me to step into my purpose. So, this episode is going to be raw and real. I'm sharing my endometriosis story from the years of suffering in silence, the misdiagnosis, the fertility struggles, and ultimately how I reclaimed my power through spirituality, self love, and advocacy. So, this is going to be a first part of a two-part series. And so, in the next solo episode, I'll be diving into the basics of endometriosis, what you need to know, how to advocate for yourself, and how to truly take control of your healing. And at the end of today's episode, I have a huge announcement about an incredible guest I have coming on. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for that. So go grab a cup of tea, get cozy, and let's dive into it. But before we dive into today's episode, I want to introduce myself. If you are a new listener, I am Kathy. I'm an empowerment coach, and I empower people to live the BS life, aka the Bliss Soft life, which is a concept that I came about. It is a concept of empowering yourself, being in your power, that you get to live life authentically you get to be the happiest version that you can be. You learn about self-love, how to have a growth mindset, all about holistic well-being so you can truly manifest the desires that you want in your life and that you deserve. So I give you the tools and ways of how to get there. And so welcome to my podcast for all the new listeners. And don't forget to comment and subscribe and to share this with people that you believe will benefit from listening to this podcast, because it really helps me get this out to the right people and to the people that really need this, right? And so the more people that know about this, the more empowered and uplifting we can create for this community and the society and ultimately for the collective. All right, so let's get back into my story about endometriosis. And so, like so many women with endometriosis, my journey started when I was young during my teenage years. I remember having painful periods as a teenager, having super heavy flow and not knowing what to do. And, that was one of the worst experiences, I believe, that I had to go through in my lifetime, is not being able to be empowered enough to learn about women's health, because growing up, we're taught that women's health is not even a big deal and we're just supposed to deal with it. So I just remembered that I was in so much pain and I would have to be curled up in my bed, unable to move, crying from the pain, which a lot of us do with endometriosis. And I kept getting told that this was normal and that I would just have to suck it up and it's just period pain. It's just part of being a woman. So I just believed it. I just thought it was the norm and I was just being a wuss for crying about it. But deep down, I just knew something wasn't right. Like I knew that there was just more than just a PMS. And the pain wasn't just during my period. Sometimes it was constant bloating, digestive issues, fatigue, so extreme it felt like I was carrying weights on my body. But still, I pushed through because that's what we're taught to do, right? Just keep going, and that everything's really in our head. But years went by, and I kept searching for answers. And I was told it was just stress, just IBS, or the classic just in your head, but it wasn't. It was my body screaming for help. And a lot of the things that the doctors or the Western medicine give you for treating endometriosis or women's PMS or women's, problems is birth control. And you learn to believe that birth control is the only option and the best option for you. And so that's what I did. So finally, in my 20s, I took birth control for a whole decade, for 10 years. And I was like, oh, great. I have less period pain. My periods are less heavy flow, but mind you, the birth control is super bad for you. It's literally unnatural and it makes your body believe that, you're not supposed to be ovulating, and then you have this unnatural way of dealing with your PMS. And so I figured that out too late, kind of, when I was trying to conceive, right? So we don't really figure these women issues out until infertility, like most of us do. And so, in my what 30s, early 30s, so maybe like 32, I wanted to conceive after getting married with my husband because, again, this is what society wants you to believe. Like, you're supposed to have your life so set up a certain way. And so, of course, you want to get married and then have kids. And then, obviously, when I wanted to have kids, I was having issues, infertility issues. And I know a lot of women are going through infertility issues nowadays because we are not empowered enough or taught at a young age about our bodies, about women's health. And so, again, in my school, I was just taught literally that if you have sex, you're gonna get pregnant. And that's what I truly thought. That's how naive I really was. And so I'm pretty sure a lot of us think this way because this is what we're taught to believe. Obviously, that was not the issue and still is not the case, because there's more to that than just doing it. So it has a lot to do with learning, being open-minded, and this is why I always say knowledge is power. So the more you know about yourself, the more about the health and how your body is, and it's just everything about yourself is so important. And so through infertility, it really taught me how to empower myself, how to understand why my body was doing things the way it was. So finally going through infertility, right? When I was trying to conceive, I finally got diagnosis after going through my infertility journey. And so a lot of us women, it actually takes about 7 to 10 years to get a diagnosis. For me, it took 20 years because in your teens, I think I got my period at 13, and then I finally got my diagnosis 32-ish. So, yeah, a lot of us, it takes that long to even get a diagnosis. So I stopped taking birth control, right? Like I told you, I wanted to conceive. And I thought I was going to get pregnant right away, but we tried to conceive for a whole year naturally and nothing worked. So I just kept taking pregnancy tests month after month to only get disappointed that, I wasn't pregnant. And then in America, at that time, you're deemed infertile after trying for a whole year. So then I finally got to a specialist after a year. And during that time was COVID. So it took a long time to go even be able to see a doctor at that point, or OBGYN. But what got me going was I had a endo flare episode. So, if you don't know, if you're not in the endometriosis world, but you get these flares of like endometriosis pain of like your inside your uterus feels like it's inflamed and you just want to throw up and you just want to crawl up in a ball because it hurts so much, your abdomen, and there's no words for it. And it just comes at any time. So this happened during Thanksgiving, I remember. And we're about to play beer pong as a family. And so out of nowhere, I just remember like about to play. We were going in the garage and I was like, I can't handle this. I just got this pain so badly. I just ran to the bathroom. And I remember like throwing up. Like I wanted to throw up, but I couldn't because I was in so much pain. I couldn't even breathe. And I ended up in the shower because I was throwing up and I couldn't stand up to throw up in the toilet because I was in so much pain. And so luckily my twin sister was there, my older sister, and they were taking care of me. And I just remember like, whoa, I haven't had this type of episode since like my teenage years. And then I was like, yeah, it's because I got off of birth control. And then now my body's out of tune. And I was so out of tune of my body. Like, And so after that, I went to the ER 2 days later because I was still feeling pain in my abdomen and I just wanted to get more answers. And at this time, I wasn't diagnosed with endometriosis. I didn't know what I truly had, even though in my gut feeling I knew like it was endometriosis. And so I went to the ER or urgent care and I was there for hours and finally the doctor was like, "Oh, you just have a cyst. It looks fine to me. Like, just follow up with your OBGYN. Okay, go home." And I thought nothing of it because she made it seem so casual, even though I was in so much pain. And so I had to wait 2 months out to see an OBGYN because this was November and then it was COVID time, so appointments took forever to see a doctor. And so I was preparing myself during these 2 months, like what could it be, doing research about endometriosis, so that when I saw my OBGYN, I could be like, hey, is this endometriosis? Which I did, guys. So I literally went to go see her, had the appointment, and the first thing I asked her was, do you think that it could be endometriosis of like the episode that I had? Because I explained it to her. And she goes, no. She straight up dismissed it and was like, no, it's not. It's just bad period pain. And she's just like, yeah, it's fine. Again, she made me question myself, and then I like second guessed everything, right? And then I was like, okay, I'm just thinking too much about it. I'm fine. I'm fine. And so just to follow up with the cyst, she had me go get ultrasounds to see if it was shrinking or if it was growing. And every time, I think I went once a month, every time I went, dude, my cyst would grow at an exponential rate. And then finally, it would grow on my other side. So I had a cyst on each side, and they were growing at an exponential rate. And at one point in time, it finally got to 6 centimeters each, like big. I don't even know how big 6 centimeters each, but they were big on each of my ovaries. And you know how much pain that causes? Like, it's not even supposed to be there. So imagine how much pain I'm in. And every time I'm ovulating, I could feel it. It's so painful. Having my period was another painful, disastrous thing. So I felt like I was always in pain. But finally, during my infertility days, I even went to go empower myself to, do acupuncture. I wanted to do everything in my power to make sure I say, okay, I tried everything to make this baby happen and to figure out why I cannot get pregnant. Right. And so found an IVF doctor and he understood what endometriosis was, thank goodness. And then he later recommends me to this endometriosis excision surgeon specialist. And I'm going to tell you these words again: excision specialist surgeon. Okay. And excision is like the gold standard because you can do ablation surgery, which is like they burn it off, versus excision is where like they literally take it from like kind of the root and take out the endometriosis and out of wherever your body it is. And so he introduced me to her, which I was lucky. She actually stuck me in for a laparoscopy because I was in so much pain. Like I couldn't sleep every night. I still remember how torturous it was. And it would really inflame at night every night. So I was not sleeping for like a whole month and a half to 2 months. And I was just so scared to sleep because every time I sleep, I'd wake up to this excruciating pain until my husband gave me painkillers and then it would finally go away. That's how torturous it was. And I just remember being in so much pain for hours and hours trying to breathe through it until like the painkillers kicked in. And finally, though, the ultrasound technician was able to figure out that it was endometriomas. So these are like cysts filled with endometriosis. So they look like chocolate, and it's called chocolate cysts as another side note. So she figured out like, hey, you have endometriosis, and from that day I got my diagnosis. I'm one of the luckier ones where I didn't have to get a laparoscopy to make sure that it was endometriosis because my cysts, my endometriomas were able to be detected in an ultrasound. So I'm so thankful for that technician. And then so later on, I was able to get a laparoscopy with an excision surgeon specialist. And she helped me feel so much better. And she helped me get those cysts out of me. And she found out that my bowel was actually glued to like my uterus. And so that's why I was getting so much pain. And so infertility just taught me a lot of life lessons that I just never knew that I needed. And again, this is why I know that every lesson and every hardship that we go through, we learn so many life lessons, may it be good or bad, whatever it is. In the end, it taught me resilience. It taught me that I needed to love myself. I needed to put myself first. It taught me skills that I so needed to be a good mother. And looking back, I'm like, thankfully, those life lessons and those hard lessons taught me like how I show up for myself can really affect my daughter. And now I look back, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see why the universe, source, or God led me to have those experiences. But at the time, I was like miserable. I was like, why are you punishing me? God, why are you punishing me? But now I look back, I'm like, no, thank you, God, for those opportunities. And then the funny and crazy part is it led me into my life purpose of being a coach, being an empowerment coach specifically for women to empower themselves, to learn about knowledge, to be open-minded, to love one another, not to bash and hate other women. It's just like all these amazing things. And then it led me into having my own podcast, being confident enough to do it and be here in front of you guys and like showing my face. It's wild. But out of all of that though, infertility was one of my biggest life-changing thing and life-changing moments. And infertility is honestly a beast on its own. And when you add in endometriosis into the mix, it's an emotional roller coaster. And I went through IVF too, because like I said, I wanted to empower myself. I want to make sure that I tried everything in my being and my abilities to say that I tried everything and I'm just not meant to be a mom, so be it, right? At least I could have a peace of mind at the end of the day. And so I tried IVF for one round and it was so painful and emotionally draining. It's like a roller coaster of emotions. And I'm a very emotional person, but hormones literally make you like feel a certain way. It makes you think a certain way. And you having to inject hormones into yourself is just like another level of like resilience and how you overcome the pain and suffering. I don't know. It's just anybody who goes through IVF, I really praise you and I'm like, dude, you're courageous. It's amazing. But IVF doesn't also even guarantee you to have a child. So that's another mind F of its own, right? Because you're spending so much money, so much efforts into it, you don't even know if you're going to get any good embryos. And so I just remember, like, again, trying to be positive just to see what it led. So I did IVF, we got the medication, and then out of all of that, how many eggs we were able to retrieve? I think like 8 or 7. It's not a lot. So I guess women have more than that. And I think because I did IVF right after my laparoscopy, guys. Like I literally got my endometriosis taken out. And then my IVF doctor was like, you better do it sooner than later because endometriosis can grow back at an exponential rate. It just depends, right? It could be aggressive or not. So I actually waited a month. I took a month rest and then I got the IVF going after that. And then we got, I think, retrieved 8 or 7 eggs, good eggs, and then only one made it as an embryo. And then that embryo was implanted in me. And then so I was pregnant for like maybe 2 weeks and then I got a miscarriage. And that like brought me to another whole level of sadness and like hardship. And then I just felt so heartbroken and I was like, I just give up. Like I don't know what it is, what this is, but after we took a month just to not think about it at all, like literally to not think about having a baby or creating a baby, whatever it was. And then I got my little miracle baby December. So I remember getting the laparoscopy in July. I rested in August. In September, we did the whole month of IVF, and then October I got my miscarriage. And then I took a break in November. December, I got pregnant naturally with my baby girl right now, who is 2.5 months, and I am literally living my dream life. And so I tell my story openly and so honestly and specific because I want people to understand that yes, you can make anything that you want happen in life, and it's truly your powers, your energy, your thoughts that help you create your reality. I wanted this baby so bad, and it finally came to me once I released and surrendered. But I had to do a lot of things to make it happen, right? I had to empower myself to go see specialists, to advocate for myself, to keep speaking up that I know that I'm not crazy. I even went to see a therapist to help with my mental health. I even got acupuncture, like I told you, to help with giving optimal health for my body. I did a bead protocol. I got really strict on my diet to make sure that I'm literally feeding my body nutrients it needs to provide a baby in there, like I did so much things to make sure that this would happen. I even worked out and meditated and did yoga. Like I tried everything, guys, and I made it happen. And I feel like, yes, you can manifest and do all these things and, speak into the world, but if you don't take action, then you're not being serious. And higher source, God doesn't know if you're really, real, truly, truly want it, right? And so your energy has to match what you want. And so I match my energy with my baby, which is beautiful. And so after having my baby girl, like my life totally changed. I feel like my whole mindset, my whole life, the outlook, my perspective, it was just, yeah, an awakening of some sort of like, wow, I made this happen with, with obviously God's source's help, but I took that action to make my life happen. But truly, when you're in a very depressed state, it's pretty crazy though. Like you really question everything. You question your body, your faith, your purpose in life. You feel less than. I remember feeling like my body had betrayed me. Like I was broken. Like I couldn't believe I couldn't carry a child for my husband. And again, in society, right, they make us women believe that if you don't carry a child of your own, you're worthless. That's what I believe, or that's what I was taught. And so it's like a natural, easy thing that women should be able to do is to have children and to bear it and to give your husband a child. And I couldn't do that easily. And so that literally chipped away at my confidence too. But I truly remember just lying in bed feeling empty and wondering if I would ever be able to carry a child. And then, yeah, but I had that hope. I had, that determination to keep going. I just kept going. And something deep inside me refused to give up. And when you are at a very depressed state too, you want to find any type of answers to make sure that it's going to happen for you. So I turned to spirituality. I never thought I would tap into my spiritual side, but literally did. Like, I remember following someone on Instagram and she did an Akashic reading with somebody. And I was like, dude, I have to do it. I have to do it to get answers. I just need to know if I'm going to be a mom or not. If like whatever I'm doing is on the right path. So I turned to spirituality, not as a way to bypass my pain, but as a way to move through it to get hope. And I started to ask myself, what is this teaching me? How can I heal, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually? So when I got that Akashic reading, I got answers that I needed. Like I literally got answers of like, yes, I was going to be a mom fairly soon. And then she was telling me I'm gonna have a daughter, and she was so specific, like I'm gonna sit on a rocking chair with a lot of milk and producing a lot of milk. And at that time I was like, I was still skeptical. I was like, yeah, right, whatever, but at least I heard what I wanted. And a couple months later, it did happen for me. So I got pregnant, and then I got a daughter. And then when I had her, I had produced so much milk. So I truly believe in all this spirituality, that gave me confirmation to, like, okay, there is something greater, there's higher source out there, and that I just have to believe. But it's crazy that, through this journey, I discovered the power of self-love, mindset shifts, and holistic healing. I began, right, to change my diet to support my body, incorporating anti-inflammatory foods and cutting out things that triggered flare-ups. I explored energy healing, mindfulness, manifestation, and little by little, I started reclaiming my power, which I want you all to do for yourselves, because we can all do this. It doesn't mean that, yes, if you have endometriosis or infertility, you have to do these things specifically, but if you're going through a hardship right now, know that you have the power to change your life. You have the power to make anything happen. And so endometriosis took me to some of the darkest places, but it also led me to my purpose, helping other women step into their own power, which literally lights me up. And that's why I do what I do today. Coaching, and then card readings, which is the spirituality part, which I never thought I would do. And then now I also have a BBA community called Blissful Beauties Ascend, which is like a community of like-minded women that come together to want to better and uplift each other and ascend together in a positive way. So I just want to create a community where women can feel seen, heard, and supported. And it's just beautiful to have that, because I wish I had that growing up. And then I wish I had that going through my infertility journey. Because as a community, you feel less alone when you are going through hardships. And that's what the human experience is. And this is what humans crave. We crave community. And without the like-minded women, or women that just support you. And so, out of all of this, though, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that our pain doesn't define us, but how we rise from it does. So endometriosis is a battle, yes, but we are warriors. We have the power to advocate for ourselves, to demand better healthcare, to support each other in this journey, and most importantly, to not let this condition steal our joy. So if you're listening to this and you're struggling, I want you to know you're not alone. Your pain is real. You deserve answers, and you deserve to live a life that isn't ruled by suffering. And I hope my story is a little inspiration of how I overcame endometriosis. And I know there's so many facets and different ways of, like, how everything goes, but what I've seen and what I've learned throughout these years of women who have endometriosis, I feel like we get stuck in this victim mentality of, like, life is against us, and we take this disease as like it's like an end game of, this disease is consuming me. And yes, it is a huge part of your life, okay, but there are ways to really take your power back. And I feel like endometriosis, or anybody who has endometriosis, it's a sign from the universe, or the lesson to teach you about self-love and self-care, which is a soul lesson that you wanted to learn in this lifetime. And when you do have endometriosis or any type of sickness or disease, right, you really have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your health, may it be mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual. And you need all four of those pillars to have optimal health. So maybe one of those pillars are imbalanced and you're not focusing on that. And so that's why you feel like you're not having optimal health. And so I noticed with endometriosis, right? I didn't put myself first. I used a lot of my energy on other people. So I was stressing my body out. Like, my body was chronically inflamed all the time, because I was stressed out all the time. So, are you stressed out all the time? That can really affect your endometriosis flares or endometriosis growth. How are you supporting your body with nutrient-dense foods on a cellular level, guys? On a cellular level. What are you feeding your cells on a daily basis so they can function at its optimal health? So it can get rid of that endometriosis, so it can help put the fires out in your body. But if you're feeding it all this junk food and like processed foods, it's working double, triple without the right nutrients. And of course, your body's going to be acting up. You're going to have all these excess hormones or excess, all these excess things that are unnecessary in there trying to battle it. Your cells are working so hard already to try to make you live and be as healthy as you can be, but it has so much other things to do. So think about it from that perspective. Are you eating healthy? How about you physically? Are you supporting your body physically? Are you doing yoga? Are you taking walks? Like, you know, what are you doing for your physical body every day? And it's not like you working out hardcore. I'm not talking about that, okay? Like, no, we're talking about just loving your body. And then last but not least, spiritually, how are you tapped into your energy and higher source, right? And if you start understanding how energy works in your life, you'll understand that, yes, physically, this disease is affecting you, but energetically, you can release that and help releasing that negativity to so you can get out of this victim mentality so you can raise your vibration to not feel that. So I've been on remission with endometriosis after my surgery in 2021. So 22, 23, 24, 25, 4 years now, almost 4 years without having endometriosis pain. And I thank God every single day for not feeling that pain. I kind of feel a little bit like it's coming back, meaning when I ovulate, I can feel a little bit of tingling sensation, and then my back is starting to hurt again. But see, I'm so in tune with my body now that I know that if I don't tap into it, into like my body telling me these things, then, I'm so in tune that I know that I need to shift some things around so I don't go back into that painful, low vibrational state of being in pain and having this disease empower me or overtake my body. I want to empower myself, right? And so I want you to do the same for you. Get in tune with your body. So now I started having those little pains. So I'm going to go back to eating super nutrient dense foods, cutting out all sugar because sugar really makes endometriosis grow really fast at a rapid pace. And so I'm going to get rid of all of that and sacrificing a little bit of pleasure in my mouth, like for things that I love and crave for overall health. I think it's worth it, right? And so you have to make these little baby sacrifices every day for what you truly want in the long run. And so I know a lot of us who have endometriosis, we don't truly take care of ourselves at the level that we need to, unfortunately. So start loving yourself, truly start doing a lot of self-care because this is the life lessons that you're here to learn. And I definitely learned that the hard way. And so, yeah. Before we wrap up, I have something huge to share with you. In the next episode, I'm diving into Endometriosis 101, what you need to know, how to advocate for yourself, and how to start taking control of your health. But before that solo episode comes out, literally next week, when this one airs, I have a very special guest joining me on my podcast. You've probably heard of her if you're in the endometriosis world. And if you have not, you need to go listen to this episode or even get her book. So I will have Katie Edmonds, author of Heal Endo, and she's a huge advocate for endometriosis, and she gives you holistic ways to really help manage your endo and to put your endo in remission. So she talks about all endometriosis, even Western, Eastern medicine. Literally, she's so knowledgeable and fantastic. So If you have not heard about her, Katie is an expert in holistic healing for endometriosis, and she's going to break down exactly how we can reduce inflammation, balance our hormones, and support our bodies naturally. If you've ever felt like traditional medicine wasn't giving you the full picture, you do not want to miss this episode. And she even tells you why surgery can be important for you if that is the route. So make sure you're subscribed, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it, and if you want to connect with me for coaching, card readings, or just support, you know where to find me. You can email me at coachkathymao@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram, kathy.mao, or just comment below and I will reach out to you. I love you all. Thank you for being here, for holding space for this conversation, and for reminding me why I do this work. You are powerful, you are worthy, and I'll see you in my next episode.